Good evening, everybody. So for the public audience, you guys already heard me say, thank you for being patient. We were in another meeting upstairs for the last hour. And to the virtual audience, thank you for being patient. We were in another meeting upstairs. We have quite a few things happening tonight during this meeting. You're not gonna hear me say this, right? So Ms. Sales is gonna have a presentation done for us first, and then Ms. Riley is gonna go ahead with her presentation. So does somebody want to tell her? Yeah. I don't know what just happened. Oh, did you share screen?
I'm sharing.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
'cause she
I was
said
like,
that.
I don't know what
As
just
soon as she
happened to
says
my
go, I'm
screen.
ready to go.
Sorry for the delay. Excuse me. Just so I know which one's not to sign.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Laila Sales, and I am the Director of Fine, Performing, and Culinary Arts. Standing before this esteemed board tonight is an absolute honor to express my deepest thanks. Your unwavering support of programs that enrich students' lives year after year allows them to nurture their creativity, discover their hidden talents, and expand their horizons through various educational disciplines. Your commitment provides students with skills that reach far beyond their subjects, shaping them into empowered, compassionate citizens of this world. What you have done, are doing, and will continue to genuinely do is genuinely invaluable. Your dedication to ensuring our schools have resources, enrichment opportunities, academic and artistic pathways, and yes, I'm going to be biased, instruments. Our students' need and desire to thrive is the heartbeat of our district. Your belief in the importance of holistic education for the growth of our students is inspiring. Thank you. Words cannot fully capture the gratitude we feel for all that you do. The simple phrase, thank you, comes up short, but please know it represents a depth of appreciation beyond measure. And a small token of thanks, I am honored to introduce one of our exceptionally talented juniors, Dalia Zivalia, who will be performing for you this evening. She's also celebrating her birthday.
said earlier, yeah, I'm a junior. I've been playing the flute ever since I first started in the music program, which is the fourth grade, I believe. And I really enjoy playing music. It's like speaking another language in the form of music for me. And I thank you guys for having me here today. And I'm excited to play this piece for you. It was my original piece from last year, and I really loved it. Here I am today. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Thank you.
birthday. Birthday.
And now I introduce our chamber choir under the direction of Hannah Costalino.
We're gonna go ready. Oh, we're this one. Yeah.
Oh, okay, or not.
So now it's the right way. Hi everyone. My name is Hannah Casalino. I'm so lucky and thankful to be here working with these students and to get to know all of you. I'm a first year teacher, so I've been working through all of those
trials and tribulations, but these students have made it so much better and way easier for me. I'm so thankful for the district and for the board for everything that they've supported us with, and Miss Sales for everything she's done for us. So I just want to express my gratitude and give you a performance. We're going to be doing a song called When I Rise Up. When I rise up, let me rise up, Lord.
Recently started a second grade music club at Cornwell, and they have a little video message for you.
Wasn't prepared.
Thank you for all that you do. You make us feel so special and very lucky. We're glad that you are here. You couldn't do without you, that's the truth. And so we say that we appreciate you. Yes, we really, 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 really do. Thank you for all that you do. You make us feel so special and very lucky. We're glad that you are here. We couldn't do without you, that's the truth. And so we say that we appreciate you. Yes, we really, 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 really do. Thank you.
That was great.
We have a final thank you from our language and community class taught by Valerie Cerrone and Stacy Williston. And in closing, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you again for being champions of all that matters in this district. Please know your support unlocks creativity, passion, and opportunity for generations of students to come. And this is from the same class, a little big card for you. Thank you so much.
Oh, one of these people I want to hear. We'll thank you very much. If any of the students are here or in the audience that provide this card for us, we'll pass it around when we go into that. I think it would be easier than us doing so now. And thank you, Ms. Sales, for coordinating that. Oh, yeah, thank you. We're not supposed to pass notes in class, though. Do that at home. So we're gonna start off the meeting, a little differently than on the agenda right now. And we're gonna start with the district report card by Ms. Riley, so we can, have that taken care of.
Hey, good evening. I don't think I'm going to be anywhere near as cute and fun as the previous guests that were up here, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Thank you to the Board of Education and Mr. Riemann, and of course, all of you here in the audience for allowing me to present the school district report card this evening. Very excited to do so. We as Rams place vital importance in mastery, identity, and creativity as being the cornerstone of a robust educational program. Mastery, where we engage our students in experiences that instill an ethic of excellence. Identity is where our students can see themselves and by extension, their community in our curricula. And creativity, where we foster an atmosphere or an environment that allows our students to generate ideas into authentic work products. And when we hit the right balance, all we see is Ram pride. And we have much to be proud of this year. We increased our pre-K enrollment from 1 classroom of students to 5 this past year. And thanks to the wonderful program, its teachers, our parents, and the littlest learners, our pre-K spring program yielded early literacy and foundational math skills in leaps and bounds, preparing our kids and equipping them to enter kindergarten strong and ready to learn. Enterprise had an outstanding year in 22-23. Our JVE team attained gold at the trade show for the best booth. And not to be outdone, our VE team at the senior level, at your service, finished in the top 10% of firms nationally. In fact, they received the Circle of Gold Excellence Award. Only 12 of these firms on Long Island received this award. So congratulations to them. You're welcome. Many of our students gravitated towards technology and coding. And congratulations to our programmers, get it? Programmers, who finished 3rd in the Kid Audio Conquest competition in 2023. Next year, we're going for 1st place. 12 students represented the West Hempstead School District in the 19th annual Supervisors All County exhibit. And additionally, 11 students represented West Hempstead with their strong artistic talents at the Heckscher Museum exhibit this past year. The entrepreneurial spirit is alive and well in West Hempstead. Ram Country had many students open up the Ram Cafe, newly branded this year as the Ram Haven. Fellow peers and faculty members have opportunities to stop by and purchase some delicious items. And our Ram vendors have the opportunity to apply their mathematical skills, their cognitive skills, and their social skills in real world situations. Our band had the occasion to travel to our Capitol building in Albany, where they had the opportunity to showcase their melodic talents by performing for state congressmen, senators, and the public at large. I think next year we're Carnegie bound. This past year marks our 3rd year with the primary project at Cornwall Avenue and Chestnut Street schools. Thanks to the staff who worked hard, they gathered data through all their senses, they thought flexibly, they persisted, and they thought interdependently. And we were able to put together a program that has been able to support our youngest at-risk learners by establishing connections within the school through trusted adults and therapeutic play, all with the goal of having these young at-risk learners graduate on time from high school and be successful in life. We received an accreditation visit this past winter, early spring. They came to see our program in our schools and our students at work. And I'm happy to say that both schools received national accreditation as primary project program schools. The first two schools to do so on Long Island, thanks to our staff and our administrators' hard work. So congratulations to you. We've been busy this past year. And so we began the 21st Century Community Center RAM Pathways Learning Grant program, through a grant that we received from New York State. The district is able to strengthen and support our students in mathematical and English skills, both after school and throughout the summer months. Students now have the opportunity to engage in enriching experiences such as dance, sports, music, and agriculture. As educators, we value and strive to create classrooms and lessons that feed our students' passion through inquiry and authentic learning opportunities. In reading, this translates to literature that is comprehensible and instructive, but it goes beyond that. Students engage deeply with books when they meet characters in those books who live, think, and act like them. And so the district purchased the Jump Rope Reader series that does just that. It introduces our primary students to characters in books that are from varied backgrounds so that they could better identify with reading and promote a love of literacy. And at the secondary level, we've explored pathways that bridge creativity with challenging coursework. We're in the planning stages as we speak for a new CTE pathway, hospitality and tourism. This pathway allows students to complete their NYSED graduation requirements while learning about these global industries so that career choices and possible pathways can be opened up to them for post-secondary careers. Our teachers continued to hone their craft and learn from each other. We continued inviting experts into our schools in the field of mathematics, literacy, and social emotional learning. We continued our partnership with Literacy Matters in the Readers and Writers Workshop and with CMP3 and SAVIS in mathematical practices. And this year, I'm happy to say, we're forging a new partnership with Jump Rope. Now, our K-6 teachers will have the opportunity to unpack and explore the benefits of mastery-based grading. Now, a little data snapshot, 22-23. West Hempstead Secondary Schools, class of 2023, realized a 95% graduation rate. Our students persisted and problem solved in the classrooms and on the field. They thought flexibly in their classrooms and with assignments and throughout their learning journey. And this is the third year in a row where West Hempstead's graduation rate has been 95% or better, outperforming the state average of 85%. As you may have heard, West Hempstead celebrated a graduation rate 95 or better for the past 3 years. Of that 95% graduation rate, approximately 60% of our students attained a Regents Diploma with advanced designation. And New York State has about a 42% graduation rate with advanced designation diplomas, once again, beating the state average. Our student seal recipients are growing by leaps and bounds. Last year, 25 students achieved the biliteracy seal. And I'm happy to say that the secondary school added another seal to our program, the seal of civic readiness. This seal is awarded to students who demonstrate a high degree of proficiency in civic mindset, knowledge, skills, and readiness. And I'm pleased to say in its first year, 55 students qualified for this seal. Students continue to apply themselves in various content areas. And as you can see from this slide, many students continue to enroll in additional Regents courses that went well beyond those required for graduation, because our students consistently demonstrate their commitment to academic growth and the ability to handle challenging coursework. As you can see from this slide, from school year 21-22 to school year 22-23, we saw a 4.6% increase in the number of students who elected to enroll in AP level courses. As indicated in the previous slide, this 4.6% increase in the number of students enrolled in AP courses shows that our students are consistently, again, holding themselves to higher expectations. While there may be some dips in performance from year to year, what is important to remember is that we are offering non-traditional pathways now to all of our students so that they can engage in relevant and material that will prepare them for college and career success. Because what we know from the research is when a student is placed in an AP class and they have that exposure, they are more likely to be successful and graduate college. Not only graduate, but graduate in 4 years. This, no matter what they received on that AP exam. Our students and staff worked quite hard and diligently this past year, put in a lot of sweat equity, and they used several habits of mind. Thinking interdependently, remaining open to continuous learning, applying past knowledge to new situations. And as you can see, our students demonstrated growth in double-digit percentages. Congratulations to them, to our teachers, to our administrators, and our families on such a wonderful accomplishment. I would like to draw your attention to the 8th grade row. You'll notice that there's a little 0 sitting there. Well, don't be fooled, because last year, for the first time, we universally accelerated all students in 8th grade mathematics with the exception of a handful, because it goes back to what we talked about with college credit-bearing courses and students being prepared for college and career readiness. Now our students had the opportunity in 8th grade to sit in an Algebra 1 course and take that exam in June of their 8th grade year. Thus, having them complete their mathematics course requirement for graduation for New York State up to a year earlier, freeing up their schedule to enroll in a mathematics class at a college level. And what we also noticed, which is an outstanding testament to our teachers and our administrators, is that we did not see a dip in the Regents pass rate this year when our entire 8th grade took it, as when compared to the previous 9th grade cohorts. On this slide, you will see our 3 through 8 BLA assessments. And again, our students and teachers worked so hard, put in a lot of sweat equity. And we saw increases in their growth and achievement overall. But I would like to talk to you a little bit about some details that you may not notice when looking at this chart. If you look at the grade 6 cohort, you will see that they achieved 53% rate of 53% of our students achieved at a grade level standard. And it appears that there was a dip in their performance. But I want you to understand that we need to track the students as people, not as percentages. So when you looked at their performance in school year 22, in that spring, as you can see from the slide, in grade 5, 24% of them performed at or above grade level standards. So in fact, these students grew 29% in 1 year. And when looking at the 7th grade in the spring of 2023, of those who took the test, 51% achieved grade level standard. And then when they were in grade 6, it was 75%. Even though there was a dip, they still outperformed the previous 7th grade cohort by 11%. And having said that, please realize that not all students elect to take these exams. In fact, the district's average opt-out rate last year was 23% in ELA and 27% in math. Therefore, our teachers collects various data sets so that they can have an accurate and fair representation of our students' progression throughout the year. And so we look at the NWEA, which all of our students in the cohorts and in the grade levels from grades K to 8 do sit and take the NWEA. And what we saw was 64% of our 6th grade students in spring of 2023 performed at or above grade level standards, not just against the state, but against their national peers. And in grade 7 on the NWEA in spring of 2023, 66% of our students performed at or above grade level standards against national performance. Our teachers and administrators take our students' progress very seriously, and we continue to work in grade level meetings, reviewing various reports from NWEA and from the state in order to readily inform our instruction, provide just-in-time support, and help us determine what are the best groupings for our students. So as you can see, the power of we is evident in our schools and communities. Together, we make a positive impact in the lives of our students. If we believe in Kaizen or continuous improvement, then we all must strive to internalize mastery, identity, and creativity in all of our daily practices and routines. In fact, what the research tells us is, and we, meaning adults, families, staff, peers, students, teachers, hold high expectations of each other, we can positively impact a child's self-esteem, self-efficacy, and academic motivation. And we remain committed to do just that as we move ahead each year. Thank you.
Thank you. We have questions from the board in regard to Ms. Riley's presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Lizzo.
So I appreciate the report. It was very insightful. And I know that we've seen improvement. I guess in some ways, thinking back when I was in school, grades like 60% and stuff like that, which is improvement. But as a person in school, that's like the average. I'm just wondering what we can do as a district to help get future classes to increase their scores or their ability to be good adults and professionals, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I think it's really interesting that you asked me that, because what we have been doing is continuing to support our programs that we've chosen for our curricula. In mathematics and in reading and writing workshop, our students are thriving in it, and we continue to provide professional development by supporting our teachers in those practices. And what we're noticing, even after coming out of COVID, we are seeing those strides in double-digit percentages. And I also want to point out that each children learn at different rates and at different times, and they hit those developmental strides differently. But if you notice that 95% graduation rate for 3 years in a row and a 60% advanced diploma rate really does show that what we are doing and providing differentiated instruction is really starting to take flight. So I think what we need to do is to continue on this trajectory and continuing to examine our practices and define.
Just, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Most of the assessments are only on a grade scale of 1 to 4, right? These are not percentages.
No, they're not, those are the
Test.
percentages that got the of students who achieved a 3 or better.
So 3 is the standard.
Grade level standards for performance.
Right, and that's the score of the exam. The
Yes.
60s and the 50 somethings are all the percentages of the amount of students.
Correct.
I do want to say thank you for the presentation. I thought it was very enlightening, and it's nice to see that more students are taking AP level classes. And I will speak as a former parent of a, way underachiever in this district. Those AP level and college level classes and the ability for students to be able to take them is allowing my daughter to graduate in December. She was a child of the class of 2021. So in 2.5 years, she'll be graduating with 2 degrees from Malloy University. So this is all based on what she was eligible to take here because of the programs and the practices that we put in place here. So if your students are here and they're not in the high school yet, or they're just going into the high school, take advantage of every opportunity you have. And I'm not saying you have to push your child to take 6 or 7 classes. I always said to my daughter, why are you taking that class? Like, honestly, I was like, not something I would think she would take, but they were classes that she took. She was very interested in them, and they did provide her the ability to be able to do more things in the university within a 2.5 year period than she probably would have done not having done that in a 4-year period. So now, she'll be able to get her master's program in 5 years versus having to do it in 7 or 8, which is great for her. And I'm very proud of her for doing that, but I'm more proud of the advances and the abilities and the opportunities that we're giving to our students in this program. And many of her teachers are in this classroom, in this room right now. And it's good for me to know that those people looked out for her and made sure she took the opportunity to take those classes. She may not have always gotten a 3 or better on those AP tests, but I will tell you, it was very beneficial for her learning how to study properly for college, learning how to take those classes when you hit college. Nobody is prepared for college when you get there. You think they're going to give you dittos and papers and whatever, and then it's like shell shock for them. So it really was beneficial for her. And also any of the college level classes, an excellent, excellent program. We have classes through Syracuse University, through Malloy, through LIU Post. That if anybody knows how much college costs, you're paying $500 here for a college credit that you're going to pay $2,500 for at those universities. So if your children want to take advantage of them, the only thing I could say is make sure they remember to bring you the paperwork that says to pay for the classes. Because if you don't, they won't get the credit for them. So you always have to make sure you say to them, when are those credits due to be paid for? Because it's very important. And I know there are other parents in this room right now that had kids that were able to do the same thing. So just if you have students in the high school now or in the middle school moving up, research it all and take advantage of whatever you can.
Reiterate one more thing, that 0% on the math assessment
Yes.
looks like the entire class is in the grade above now, right? 9th grade algebra.
With the exception of a handful of students.
That's impressive.
You'll see the end size on
Oh, that was good.
it.
Everybody. Okay.
Do we have any other questions from the board in regard to that? So I'm going to let Ms. Riley sit, and then when we get to the public participation part, if somebody has a question regarding this presentation, we'll allow it at that point, so you can kind of just move along. I lost my agenda, sorry. I didn't mean to so fast for very long. So I need a motion to move dockets 3-135 through 3-138.
So moves. Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Oh. We have report of committees. I'm gonna skip to PTA, PTSA, and SEPTA. So I saw, both Emily Merle and George in the room. Anybody speaking on behalf of PTSA? Mrs.
Well, I
Merle?
guess I will. Emily Merle, PTSA board member. We had our first meeting last night. Thank you for all who attended. We are asking that everyone come out and join. You can participate as much or as little as you want, but it would be good to have more people in the community in the PTSA than the teachers and administration in the school district who most don't live here. So if you could join, that's great. You can join online and the flyers, I think there's flyers in the office at schools. And our next meeting is November 20 something.
And the
Remember?
PTSA social is November
Yeah,
9th.
and we're having a PTSA social at November 9th at King Umberto's. Tickets are $65. If you buy them in advance, you get a free sheet of raffle tickets. And we're working very hard on raffle prizes, and we hope you all can join us for that. It's a very fun night. There's no school on November 10th, so you can sleep in with your children the next day. That's it. Please join. And just a little plug for, well, one, when the money is due, if the school could send it home to the parents, that'd be fantastic for those college classes and not rely on the students to bring that information home. And two, the boys volleyball game won their 4th game in a row. And they're killing game. See you again.
Thank you very much. I see a few PTA members in the virtual audience. Oh, and I see one here too. So would you like to speak on behalf of PTA?
Hi, Stephanie Tandini, PTA. So we had our picture day on Friday. It was for all 3 schools. And they're gonna do a retake in December 1st. This will also include the 6th grade club photos on that day, but that is separate from the group photo for the 6th grade, and the letter will be sent home to explain that information. Our World's Finest Chocolate Bar fundraiser has begun. The order forms are on the website, and they will also send home in the backpacks. And each box is $60. This year, we're trying to incentivize people, so we're offering a prize for every student who sells 3 boxes or more. They become a star student and they get featured on our social. So on the Instagram page, we have about 4 star students, I believe, and a handful that are close to selling those 3 boxes. So we're looking forward to hopefully reaching more students that way. The Meadow Farms is our other fundraiser, and those packets have been sent home and they're due back on November 4th. 6th grade fun day has 2 upcoming fundraisers. Chipotle in Elmont, which you should all go to, is on October 24th, and then the trunk or treat will take place on October 27th at Cornwall Avenue. If any 6th grade parents are out there who are not part of the emails or any of that information, please make sure that you're signed up to receive them, because there are a lot of events that happen for the 6th grade and you don't want to miss any deadlines, and it's very important that you don't miss out. So new this year, we have West Hempstead Crock Gibbets. It's very exciting for the community apparently. So please return your order form or visit our website to order. Membership can be purchased through the member hub, and then remember to follow us on all socials, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We haven't taken to TikTok yet. The link to each of our social media pages can be found on our website. And our next meeting is on Monday, November 27th at 7:30 at George Washington. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
For anybody that needs to join PTA, PTSA, and or SEPTA who don't have the links and want to do so online, I'm gonna have Mr. Reedman add the links onto the website if they're not already there. Only thing I can say, I don't see a SEPTA representative in the oh, there you are, Tara, sorry. When I tried to go on SEPTA to pay, it said that SEPTA was not accepting any payments at that time. So I don't know if it's fixed or changed, but maybe look into it, because I paid everybody else except you.
Okay,
So
I'll tell Lori.
I don't want to be in trouble.
No, no.
Cash.
So I don't carry. So Tara, would you like to speak on behalf of SEPTA?
Sure, I'm Tara Kushner. Our next meeting is November 27th, is joint with the PTA. And it's at GW Cafeteria, and we have our holiday chocolate fundraiser flyer going home soon, and that's pretty much it.
Will that be on, will that be on social media that somebody could order online
Yes,
that
it'll be
doesn't?
on Facebook and I
have
think
shop-
we're on Instagram.
Okay.
And it goes home with the elementary school kids.
Our student representative, Veronica Hannah.
Hi, how are you? My name is Veronica Hannah. I am a 12th grade senior here at West Secondary School, and I'm the student council for grades 9 and 12. Student council will hold their annual Halloween party for students pre-K through 6th grade. Will be
Veronica.
held on.
You need to
Veronica,
speak up.
Yeah, just speak up a little louder.
Student council's annual Halloween party for students pre-K through 6th grades will be held on Friday, October 26th from 3:30 to 5 p.m. in the cafeteria. There will be a variety of Halloween themed STEM activities, music, snacks, and more. The event is for free for all, and see the flyer for more details. For Key Club, each year the Key Club provides a Thanksgiving dinners for families in the West End community. We will run our district-wide food drive from November 1st through the 15th. Details will follow. Youth Club, any seniors that will have to take their portrait can make appointments through Prestige Photography and will go directly to the studio in Farmingdale. ENL Club, in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month, members of the ENL Club created a Google slide presentation about their native countries that was displayed on monitors throughout the school. And lastly, Italian Music Honor Society, members sent letters and post-it notes with messages of support to the Farmingdale Music Program and to hang their middle school and high school buildings. And the club is also currently planning their trips to Broadway. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica. If you have homework to do, you are more than welcome to take off and go to yourself.
You have a good one.
So at that time, we'll move on to our superintendent's report. Homework.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. Constructive criticism is valuable and we must prioritize presenting facts accurately to foster productive discussion. I want to debunk some myths that seem to envelop our dedicated professionals and students like on miasma. Let's begin with the ongoing debate about literacy instruction. The decades-long debate, or reading wars as they are referred to, encompass issues like the absence of explicit phonics instruction, the challenge of teaching reading, and the importance of professional development and curriculum fidelity. The recent state ed discussion on the science of reading emphasized that the science of reading is not a program, but rather a body of research. As Ms. Riley's presentation on the school report card highlighted, our district is making positive strides by focusing on foundational principles, continuous professional development for teachers, and curriculum implementation with fidelity. Never once did anyone here say this would happen overnight. We never said there was a magic pill to address what was not working. Never once did we assume there would not be obstacles along the way. People questioned the graduation rate. 83% a while back, mid-90s now. People questioned higher level expectations. Entry Regents diploma right now sits at 60%. People just recently questioned 3 through 8 assessment test score. You just witnessed the overwhelming increases for yourself. They're not perfect, not where we want them to be, but they are certainly heading in the right direction. People question our literacy program, but yet we continue to have those who leave other schools to come to us because their children are 2 grade levels or more behind reading. Anecdotally, most of our kindergarten students have proficiency in letter ID and a secondary skill, letter sound correspondence, which really are both predictors of readiness success. We've seen a 14% increase in letter ID at Chestnut Street from last year. We've seen a doubling in letter sound because we have a pre-K now. We used to have 60% of our students enter kindergarten without any preschool experience. The case for UPK lies here. It allows our students to build alphabet knowledge, set a positive trajectory toward reading readiness and learning outcomes. Reader's Workshop is in full swing in all kindergarten classrooms, and some students are already being benchmarked. This typically has not been done until January. The district continues to head in the right direction. take a moment and think back to the test scores Ms. Riley just spoke about in grades 3 through 8. We must continue to emphasize fundamental principles at the earliest stages while upholding a comprehensive program. Professional development will persist and be concentrated within the classroom for our existing teachers. New educators may require a similar level of development as in the past. Also, we'll need to ensure the curriculum is being implemented with fidelity. We now focus for a moment on professional development and continuing to learn as educators. As New York State heads towards overhauling high school graduation requirements, we have actively pursued a pre-K-12 program that will place us at the forefront. Our latest initiative is to be part of the NYSED plan pilot, aiming to exceed rather than just meet high school graduation requirements. Our commitment is to help all school-age students reach their full potential. This is one of the many reasons why we want to build a tool belt of strategies for all educators. Several concerns have been raised related to the district's management of the UPK program, which is worth mentioning. Unfortunately, people may feel taxpayer money has been spent inefficiently. Last week, I, along with some others, attended a UPK meeting where I specifically asked why districts were not informed of the increase in UPK seating. We just learned that we now have up to 130 seats available. For those of you who are not familiar, we've had 90 in the previous 2 years. From the onset of this initiative, I was told by local politicians there will be no such increases. I was also told at this meeting we had a specific person at the state who would answer our questions. I asked who it was because we were waiting for a person and a response when we called. That being said, I'm happy we can offer more UPK seats. We can explore the possibility of adding other local providers to maximize the use of federal and state funding and benefit the entire community. The district and the board prioritize representing the entire community and ensuring that all available resources are used for the benefit of West Hempstead residents. To say otherwise lacks a certain je ne sais quoi. From now on, I will have plans to address these issues by being more active in my correspondence and communication with the state ed department. People attempting to discredit the real work of learning this board does are leaving out a key point they already know about. We have received one response to our original RFP. An RFP is a request for proposal that all districts are mandated to do as a part of the UPK process. One response, not a list of providers and daycare centers. One. This dispels the argument that we will not or have not yet or have yet to do. Thank you.
Thank you. We've now reached, excuse me. We've now reached the period for district residents and or employees of the district to address the board. This individual will be limited to 3 minutes of non-confidential agenda items with an overall maximum of 20 minutes for this portion of the meeting. Just a reminder that if called upon, you're to identify yourself and then ask your question. Again, it's only 3 minutes and we have to be able to allow everybody to ask their questions. If you have a question in this audience, please raise your hand. If you have a question in the virtual audience, please raise your virtual hand. Mrs. Kill.
Hi, I'm Barbara Keelty. I'm a retired teacher. I taught here for 36 years. I've lived here for over 70. Born and raised, went through these schools, so did my children. My children also took advantage of the advanced classes. I have to tell you that. My daughter went to Albany as a sophomore. She is 48 years old and is very successful in her job. And so it has been a success through many, many years. As far as percentages, I taught every single grade in elementary school. I've cleaned many classrooms, been in many buildings. Percentages are a persona. You could have 3 children out of 30 who do not do well. Don't look at it as percentages. Look at the success of the number of children. Tests are not great. I have another child who is a terrible test taker. Kids are kids. Not everybody is going to succeed in tests. Teachers do the best that they can do to help every child succeed, but that doesn't mean every child is going to succeed. We can only hope that they have gotten a small percentage of what you've given them. For every child I had, if I went home one day with a child who was non-English speaking or had a challenge in their life, it made my day. You cannot have success every day and with every child. This has gone on for years. Trust me, I've taught every grade, and you will always have these challenges. It is never going to go away. So on the other note of Farmingdale, we have a former student, who is an assistant principal there, just to let you know. She is in the middle school. So we have a personal connection to Farmingdale. She graduated with my niece, and she is a middle school administrator there. It is a horrible, horrible situation. I was at a regional conference for the New York State teachers, because you know I run a council for retired teachers. I am in charge of 7,000 retirees here on Long Island. And we spoke a lot about Farmingdale, including educators who were there from Farmingdale. It is truly a tragedy. I hope it never, ever happens anywhere else. But those administrators and teachers who are still in those buildings are going to feel that forever. It is a horrible thing. When I was teaching, I had a child hit by a car here. So it doesn't go away. But just, we have a personal connection.
Thank you. Janine, I see your hand up in the, are they unmuted?
Yes.
Oh, Janine, you want to unmute yourself?
Okay. There we go. Hi, Janine Galena, resident. I just wanted to bring up, I'm an educator also, and I teach 3rd grade and 4th grade art. And so I see a lot of their personalities and their abilities to be self-driven and, you know, just their overall achievements. And I want to mention something. I don't have research to base this, but the 3rd grade currently didn't have a proper pre-K because of the pandemic. And I just want to show my support for the pre-K program because it is so vital. And I see such a difference in a whole body of students. And I'm talking about 240 of them. So I just want to mention that as something. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about the state tests because I think it's really important, maybe we could get this out to the public, that the test changed from 22 to 23. So having that as a metric and measurement isn't really, the state has even actually strongly advised against comparisons from last year's scores because the new standards. They're no longer doing Common Core, which was very controversial. That's why so many people were opting out. They didn't think it was an accurate measurement of what kids were learning, and the language was very difficult. So that's important. And right now, the state is determining new benchmarks on what makes students proficient. So it's really in a state of, you know, change right now. So that's important also when we're talking about these tests. And that's pretty much it. So maybe we can get that out to the community. That's my question. Can we? Thank you.
Mr. Zelig, I see your hand up as well.
Yes, thank you. Just a couple of questions on the UPK. I just want to make sure I followed. So is it correct that we have 73 students currently enrolled in UPK?
74 as of last week, and we're enrolling 2 more this week.
Okay, so does that mean there's 54 open seats?
Well, there's
no, not well. Depends on how you look at that question. Now that we're looking at 130, you could say that, but it's not accurate because we have not put out an RFP for the extra 40 seats. So no, yes and no.
There are 16.
Oops, sorry.
I'm trying to be as accurate as possible.
There are 16 available seats within the program inside the school building, and then there would be 40 available seats if we put out an RFP for them.
Okay. And then so there's a classroom with I guess 18 seats that we're paying for all 18 seats that has less than that full, right? So like if we're in the 90, right? We have 76, I guess. So there's 14 open seats. Is that correct?
Correct.
That sounds right.
Okay, so if those 14 don't get paid, don't get filled, do we pay for the 14 seats at the end of the year and then not get that back from the government?
As we discussed this last time, Mr. Zelig, and as you and I discussed in our email exchange, we're paying for classrooms, right? And as I said to you, and I'm going to say it here so everyone hears the same exact message, we don't have the final numbers back from the state government in terms of how much money we're getting back. The second I get that information, I'll be happy to share that. So I don't want to misspeak, as I said last month. So, but I understand your theory.
Yeah, just my understanding is they pay per student, not per classroom. So if when you get it, you could send it. I appreciate it. And then just the last point. So on the 40 seats, I guess, or now that we know that there's additional seats, are those going to be offered out to some of the other providers or second? It sounded like you were saying a secondary provider. I guess how long would that take? And I guess what's the plan to try to roll those out?
Right.
Well, in all fairness, I just found this out, and I'm not going to lie. I'm a little annoyed with the state ed department because if I would have known this much earlier, we could have did something much further in advance. We can't, so this is where we are. This is why it's being mentioned tonight, not because you wrote a letter or anything like that, just because we found out the information at our UPK meeting that we went to. So I brought it to the board's attention. It's something I will discuss with the board, and after I discuss it with the board, we'll take appropriate action.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. What's our time frame? I have some time. I'm gonna guess this is Michael Fulop, but I don't want to say so, but if that's you, could you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, hi, it is Michael Fulop. So I just so back in April of this current year, I had written email to the board asking about the heat, lighting, and power expenses because it was an increase of 60% in the budget. The following week after I wrote the email, Mr. Blass had asked in the board meeting about it, and he was told that we've already increased the amount that was allocated for heat, lighting, and power expenses, and that it wasn't something that we were predicting would increase. It's already happened that we eclipsed what the budget was. I had gone on board docs to look at what the expenses were for the 22-23 school year, and according to that, we did not even meet the heat, lighting, and power expenses for last year. Instead of 598,000, which was budgeted, it was about 594,000. So it was a little bit below, even though we had said during the meetings that it was eclipsed. And we had mentioned that there would be a 60%, or not mentioned, and that we proposed a 60% budget increase. So I was wondering what the disconnect is in terms of if we had surpassed in April, then was there a reason why the board docs document is showing us below what we had budgeted for? And it's something that I would like to just note for the future, so the same type of thing doesn't happen again, where we need to increase a cost by 350,000 that doesn't seem to need to be increased.
Okay.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, without that question in advance, I'm sure that Mr. Phillips doesn't have those numbers in front of him at the moment, though I don't recall that they just don't seem accurate by count here. So Mr. Phillips is going to get that information and we will certainly send it out to you.
Yeah, and I'm happy to email it to him.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions in the audience here? Thank you guys for closing the window. We're just going to drag this out as long as possible so she doesn't get you. All right, Mr. Fulop, your hand is still up. I'm assuming it's just still up. Like, okay. So we're gonna move on. There is a period later in the night for district residents to ask questions again. So I need a motion to move docket 3-139.
Second.
Any questions?
Some questions. So in that docket, I see the 21st Century Grant Program is in there. So I was wondering how much of that grant program is still available is one, and two is to understand those positions that are listed in there, what they're doing, and how often are they meeting? Because it shows over a month and a half period.
We
I
did
think
send you an
I
answer
sent
to
all
that.
today. Didn't I send you that this morning?
I didn't have a chance to review it then.
Oh, no.
I can resend it to you later.
I might have.
That's right.
Grants.
Grant.
Yeah, 21st Century Grant.
21st Century Grants. Available balance was 383,000 as of the Friday, last Friday. That's the number they passed along. So $840,000 was the grant total amount. That's up to right.
And I see that that the teachers are given, or the staff members are given the daily rate over like a 2-month period. How often do those teachers or staff members, is it for?
4 days.
3 days?
4-day week
4
program.
days.
4-day week
For the
program?
section.
For that section?
And I do have the site coordinator responsible for the administration and supervision of staff and programs at the building level. English and math instructors obviously provide instruction in those subjects, and youth development staff provide social emotional enrichment.
Can that program also be used for, I know that people in the district have mentioned to me in the past that they have children that need additional help with learning reading skills and stuff like that. Is this program, this grant, available to also be able to help with that? Is there specifically math and
Well, ELA would fall into the reading piece.
so they,
Any other questions on that docket? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. I need a motion to move 3-3, no, it's not English. 3-140 through 3-141. So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Somebody at the door.
Oh,
It's her turn.
we finally got to you. I feel like I'm in a different twilight. So Squagliata. Well, let's just start with the fact that she's a phenomenal student. And I think that's a key ingredient to becoming an excellent educator, a professional. She is. She currently serves as the ENL teacher at George Washington Intermediate School, and to her immediate right is her comrade in arms, I'll call it, Spokane. And they share a space, and I had the opportunity to visit the other day. I stop in all the time, but and officially do my superintendent duty and see a lesson, and I got to meet some very interesting, fine, young boys and girls who people say, we've taught this person, we teach human beings. And the human beings in this year's cohorts are so diverse. A young lady from Russia who happened to walk into the room, and I think she brought a book back, and she was so excited to talk to them and share the story, even though she had very limited English. But you could just tell, that once a person like Miss Quagliata works with her and gets her to a level of understanding in reading, writing, listening, speaking, there's no holding that kid back. And I'm going to put, I shouldn't say it like that. I will bet a box of chocolates that kid may end up being valedictorian, salutatorian, or school, because you could just tell that light's there, right? But that light's not going to be as bright as possible if it's not for the work that people like Alyssa do on a daily basis. I mean, this year we have kids from Taiwan, China, the Dominican Republic, Russia, like I said. I mean, we are so diverse and it's so beautiful to be a part of this. And I got myself in some trouble. I'm going to ask this for 30 seconds with something I might have said in public, but you have to understand, we represent almost every nationality there is on the planet in this school district now. When I came here 16 years ago, you could say it was basically Irish and Italian with some African American, right? And a little bit of Hispanic, but it's not like that. It is America. There is no better place to be. And it's because of people like this, like Ms. Quagliata, who do amazing work on a daily basis. So I do have to read some things about her so I don't get them out of turn. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from Providence College with a certification in childhood education and students with disabilities. Additionally, she holds a master's degree from Malloy with a certificate in TESOL. As her principal, Ms. Nadi, mentioned, she has a warm smile, patient demeanor, sets a positive tone in her classrooms, and it couldn't be any more true. The connection she makes with her students allows them to feel welcome and valued. They even dress like her. If you go out on the Twitterverse or the Instagram world, you will see that her students so encompass everything she does. They even want to be dressed like her. To ensure a strong literacy connection, Ms. Quagliata embraces the Reason Rise workshop model. She integrates technology to aid in developing listening and speaking skills, and that doesn't even do it justice. So last week, maybe Thursday, Friday, I don't know, whatever. Well, someday last week, I know it was at 6 o'clock, so I was rushing to make sure I signed on properly. So I wanted to see they being Ms. Holtkamp, Ms. Quagliata, and Dr. DiGregorio were presenting, and I'm not going to remember the name of the app, but basically what it does is Listen Wise, thank you. So kids can listen to stories, right? And be a part of it. It's not so much the app that's incredible, even though it does some pretty good stuff. It's the fact that Alyssa embodies that last phrase in our mission statement, our vision statement, or whatever you want to call it, statement, a lifelong quest to learn. And there they are, 6 o'clock at night. They didn't have to do it. They chose to do it because they're professional. They chose to do it because they had something to share with other professionals who maybe help one kid. That's what they do. That's what professionals do. They affect one life at a time. And that's what Alyssa does every single day. She's a member of the district's ENL RTI committee, which I heard had a very nice meeting the other day. She has presented workshops at Long Island ESOL, Malloy's For Us By Us conference, and Heidi, am I pronouncing that one right? Okay. She communicates with her families frequently using various means to build a strong homeschool connection, a vital part of all the students she serves at George Washington, and she's been recommended for tenure by Dr. DiGregorio, Nadi, Ms. Riley, me, I'm sure a whole host of others. So congratulations to you, kid. Well deserved. Mom and dad in the back. Mom and dad, mom and dad, you did a great job. Well done.
Say, if you have homework, you can go. I'm sure they don't want to sit here and watch.
They should at least take you out for ice
I
cream.
was just gonna say that. My line.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'll give you a minute. Hey, I didn't say you please.
Don't stop now. Keep going.
Just keep going. Pretend I didn't see you.
Congratulations.
Good
Have
night.
a good night. Congratulations again. Come on.
Congratulations.
See you.
Get home safe.
Those are that great. You did. And didn't tell me. Sorry, just wanted to let them get. I know. Okay, so we're gonna take, I am asking to table docket 3-142 to the November meeting due to change in one of the charters that needs to be accomplished. So as long as we're all okay with that, yes. I need a motion to move 3-143 to 3-147. So David moved it for seconded.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. I need a motion to move docket 3-148.
Second.
Any questions?
So I was reviewing these agreements, and I noticed that one of the agreements, it speaks about how teachers sometimes come to these classes and there's no students available and they have to wait. I was wondering how often that might have happened in the past, that we have a memorandum agreement that we're discussing.
It doesn't happen that often, but we do have to recognize the fact that the professionals in our school district do prepare for review classes. And so we wanted to at least compensate them for the prep work that they were doing. So one of the reasons why we did a 1-year agreement was kind of to monitor that and see where it takes us.
Yeah, it's important to pay the teachers. I was just worried about students signing up or not, and
Oh, no, if they're in schools, they'll go because the shoot chasing them down. So
Any other questions on that agreement, on that?
I was trying to understand the pre-athletic study sessions. What is the sports supervision?
it's a supervision in which we came from me, quite honestly. Some people had suggested for me, but when I go to visit the middle school at the end of the day, we don't have necessarily anywhere for our student athletes to go from 2:45 to 3:30. If there's no study hall, there's no extra help. And there's certain days when there are no extra help, or teachers are in meetings, or whatever the case may be, they might be in professional development. And I can't have kids roaming the hallways because then we don't want them leaving campus. So this is a way to have, kids sit down, do some homework before sports start, and get them homework done and get some help.
So a homework club. Okay, thank you.
Stop. Don't. It's 9:20.
Okay, so any other questions on that, docket? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion passes. Any motion to move dockets 3-149 through 3-153?
So moved. Sorry.
I totally just drew a blank, David. Fine. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Any motion to move dockets 3-154 through 3-157?
So moved. Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. I don't know why I just. So I need a motion to move docket 3-158. Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. I need a motion to move dockets 3-119 through 3-120.
So moved. Sorry.
I was on a jump there. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. I need a motion to move policy docket number 3-121.
So moved. Second.
Ms. Lazar, you had a question on that?
Yeah, points of information on this. From what I understand from policy 3810, that discussions of policies require 5 days ahead of time to get the information, but also it requires that during discussion by each policy, that the community gets, and it's supposed to be asked questions, which we had not done at that last meeting. And since I was remote on that day, so I couldn't actually either address any of the questions or any of my concerns. So I'd like to table this until another meeting so we can have more discussions on.
2550, you want to table to the December policy meeting. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay. The information and data privacy.
No.
Question.
No, sorry. The ones I want to table specifically are these two. Lots of changes in them. 9280 and 4100.
Okay, so since we stopped on the one that we're at, do you have any questions on information and data privacy?
No, that's
So all in favor of moving docket 3-121?
fine.
It was Kurt and Joe, but now we're voting on it. Are we all in favor of that docket?
Yeah.
Aye. Any motion to move docket 3-122 and 3-123? Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. So we're gonna, there's no reason we can't. Why are we doing this? Because he has questions.
So just those two policies. Motion in the docket, those two.
To table the docket 3-124 and 3-132. So we have a motion. Do I have a second? No, you made the motion.
I thought he motioned it.
You motioned it.
Okay. I thought David motioned it.
Okay, so I need, so we have a motion to table 4100 and with 3124 and 3132.
Yes.
Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We already did, I mean, I don't see why we have to wait.
So those policies are not in effect now, right?
Well, they're in effect as they stand,
As
they're just not, they're in effect the way they currently stand. Any changes are not in effect.
There's no reason.
Wait, did we get, are we all in favor or did we have an opposed? I'm waiting.
I don't understand why the ethical policies of board members have to be put on hold, but I mean, this was discussed and there was weeks between putting this out and having the vote.
It has to
So,
be discussed here, so.
well,
It couldn't be discussed with outside of that meeting.
but
So
we
now
were
it has
here
to
to
be here.
discuss it. So, board members were here to discuss it. So I'm just.
Okay, so are you voting against this docket?
Yes.
Okay, so all in favor other than Andrea? Andrea is opposed, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So I need a motion to move docket 3-125 through 3-131.
So moved.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. I need a motion to move docket 3-133.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye, motion passes. And a motion to move docket 3-159.
So moved. Second.
Any question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. So under board privilege of the floor, we're going to start with, I need a motion to move docket 3-160. Questions?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't put it in advance, it's better. Okay, so basically, these are board goals. Seems to me that a lot of these are not really related to things that we necessarily do on board. So why do we have these as goals? These more
They actually,
responsibilities of the administration.
no, they actually are, and we did have this conversation and all agreed to these goals
I
last
wasn't
month. So I'm just, no, I'm asking if there's a, like, our board goals are supposed to be brought in for the entire district and community, and that's what we do. So I just want to make sure, I'm not pushing anybody's goals on anybody. This is just, we did discuss this and agree to them last month, so.
These are the same ones from last year?
Yeah.
That we all-
So
that we all
board
voted on
goals
last year
for
as
the
well.
district.
Correct.
the way to determine it.
Yes.
Correct.
No problem.
The same as last year as well.
See,
So I agree with all the goals. My question is on the first one, provide all students with comprehensive educational, social, emotional foundation, which prepares them for postgraduate future. So this says all students. So what are we doing to help also the students that do not go to the West Hempstead building?
Because are you asking what the district is, what the board is doing, or are you asking what the district administration, like educators, whatever is doing? Like, what is the question? Because I think you're looking at this differently than when you're talking about like an SAT class or something like that. I'm not sure I'm following.
Right, so I'm just asking because it's the goal of the board for district. So what are we doing? What additional things are we doing? I know we're doing a lot with APs for people in the buildings. We have lots of different programs. I just want to know what additional things we are able to do, or that our goal is with this goal to be helping the other 1,500 students in the community outside of the building.
Right.
What do you mean by help? Are you talking strictly academic? What?
I'm just talking about what this is saying here. So it's provide all
I'm not going
students
to
with
read into
comprehensive
it.
educational.
Specific question. Are you talking about academic? Because I could go down through each.
Sure.
We are responsible, technically, I'm responsible to ensure that the private schools, private school children in our community receive a viable curriculum. So part of my job is to work with like Rabbi Hazan and new principal at Gersh and make sure they are implementing a certain curriculum. Just like with Scope, the UPK program, they're here, it's easier. We work very closely with them to ensure they are providing an appropriate education. Those children, we will continue to do that with all organizations that are outside of just the district side of it and out in the larger community. I'm not going to get in. I don't want to go around touchy subjects. Like, no, we provide things like transportation. They can get to school. That's not academic, but we have offered every year, in at least the last decade that I've been around central office, professional development opportunities to all private school staff. Whether or not they choose to come, I can't do anything about that. We've offered the grant program to private school in the community. They have not taken us up on it yet. We are circling back with them again. We'll continue to do that. We offer the summer, the entire, the 12-month. Things of that nature we do. Social emotional stuff. We have a relationship with Northwood Health. I mean, how much time do you have? Because we can talk about PPS and in the vast. And when I say vast, I'm not even joking about the amount of stuff we do to support our students in the community. Everything from services like speech and resource room and things of that nature to psychological services and things of that nature. Homeschool students we're responsible for. They have to provide us with an educational plan that is an acronym. Thank you. So there's things like that. One of the things I'm going to do, even though it's not really, it could be kind of going onto that board goal. I'm going to be reaching out. I just got the updated list of the students who are attending charter schools in our district to reach out to them, not to harass them, but to find out why they're choosing a charter school and not coming here. That would be something else we do. I think you get the gist, I think.
Yeah, and the part of asking the question also is, I know that we offer great programs. We offer the program with Nest Community College, even stuff like that, and seeing those kind of things. I'm just wondering if we can, and maybe we're doing everything we can already. Make sure to publicize that more to the students, not necessarily just to the schools themselves, but if there's potential that there might be more students that will decide to come to the public school by understanding these programs better, that they may not be fully aware of.
That's a good statement, and we've done that. Matter of fact, we on it there, kiddo, getting the death stare from the corner. We had 2 students just recently take a tour of our secondary school because they were interested in our I'll just call it the tech, the STEM piece of our program, but not really science related, like biology, more like the tech piece of it. And so we gave them a tour of the school. They met with the parents. They did the whole thing with that. We've had a couple of students, I think 2, right? Transfer to public school so that they could attend National Community College and take advantage of that. And that's always a great opportunity. My problem with that, for me, the reason why I brought that to the table, discussions that we've had together, and we still haven't figured this one out, but we're trying, we can eventually get there. What we really intended this for, the National Community College thing, was for students who couldn't afford college, right away. So in the state of Massachusetts, going a while back, they rerouted financial aid, because you can't get financial aid while you're still a high school student, right? So they would figure out a way, it's the legislature, I'm assuming, to reroute financial aid to eligible seniors. So I want to do that same thing, not just for us, for anybody, but that's one of my bigger goals that I have not yet been successful with. But you could imagine, if you heard the story with Ms. Quagliata and the kids she works with, then they continue on to high school, those kids would, now we're changing lives on such a dramatic fashion. So that's something else to look at. Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions, or I can forward with this? Okay, so all in favor? Motion passes. Also under board privilege of the floor, there are 2 discussions and then I have stuff to say. So regarding public comment, Mr. Magarachi, that was your request?
Yep. Okay, I'd like to open up a board discussion. I wrote it down just so I don't forget anything. It's been a tough 2 weeks for me. My mom had surgery, my father-in-law had surgery, so I just didn't want to forget anything. So I hope you don't mind, I'm reading it. Board policy 9340 provides for a general statement that any resident, Island Park resident, employee addressing the board during the appropriate times will be limited to 3 minutes of non-confidential agenda items. The board also limits this period to a maximum of 20 minutes. During COVID, although we did amend our policy, we did give the direction to the superintendent to live stream our board meetings and to allow for both in-person and virtual comments by the public. Since that time, during our meetings, there have been times when an individual has not identified themselves or refused to identify themselves. I have also seen articles where school districts have been Zoom bombed, where their meetings were interrupted by inappropriate language or images of unknown individuals. With that said, I would like to open up a discussion of whether we should limit public participation only to those physically present. I believe this is the practice most schools utilize, and it protects the district from Zoom bombing and having individuals refuse to identify themselves in violation of our policy. If someone can't come to a meeting, they can always send the district clerk a written question and can address these questions, and we can address these questions how we have always done in the past. Thank you.
So that was a very well thought statement. Conversation from the board in regard to that.
I agree with Joe. I think that makes sense.
So it's a change in the policy?
It's not a change in the policy because our policy only states that there's a period for district residents to speak. We've never had virtual meetings before until COVID took place. So at that time, we did virtual meetings because nobody was allowed to be here, just us. And half the time we all were on Zoom until we came back into the room.
It's a courtesy.
So it is currently a courtesy to take public comment from the audience. Ms. Salazar, you have a comment?
Yes, I think that since it changed and we have been doing it on video and the community gets to see what's going on and more people have interacted. And I think just like the board goals also is that we want to get more community involvement. Want to give them more opportunity. Not everyone can leave their homes, have children, and just sending messages to the board still doesn't get it in front. But we've also had plenty of time where there were conversations, and this happens during budget time mostly, where people are posting lots of things. And then there's lots of conversation about, oh, this person said something and the board is able to say something. So this gives people the opportunity to have that conversation with the board in public if they want to, even if they can't make it into the meeting. And we'll hopefully reduce also the amount of information that might be, and people call it misinformation, that might come around because people are asking this question. So I think that is something that's important that we continue to allow.
I disagree with Mr. Lazar. I think that we are given the opportunity to have people come in Zoom if they can't make it. If they have questions and it's important to them to come be heard in person, and if not, to email their questions as they come up. I have been here when certain people have refused to identify themselves, and that takes away from the people that are sitting in the audience that have come to ask questions. And I think that we're affording the opportunity to have them Zoom and hear, process what we're talking about, and email questions. Contrary to what Mr. Lazar says, it does come in front of the board when emails are sent. He said that it doesn't get filtered to the board. I disagree. I know that it does. So I don't see that statement as being valid. If there's a question and it's emailed, the board does get it. So it's covering both aspects. And I think that it's fair to the people that come out to have that opportunity to speak and not hide behind the camera without identifying yourself.
Also, David, if they email their questions and it's something that we don't have handy with us right now, we have a little bit of time to get them answers. So this way, when we read the questions that night that we got emailed, we'll have the complete answer for them instead of saying, okay, we'll get back to you.
Good point.
So this way, the whole community can hear the answer instead of that one single person.
Okay, I want to say, I strongly disagree with being discussed here. Because the key word that I think that was mentioned was limits, discussion, limits. And that's something that's going the wrong direction. I think what we want to do is encourage as much participation as possible through any means possible with the community. It can only help us. Folks in the community pay for all of this. And to say to them, we're going to limit the ways you can correspond with, I have the floor at the moment. So to limit their possibilities of communicating with us is plain wrong. And there's a lot of misunderstandings that go on, and not everybody will take the time to write an email. Some people rather speak verbally, and if the only way they speak verbally is on this. The other thing was all these things that happen in other districts that they're concerned about. I don't think we've really had that. So occasionally, may have someone does identify themselves. If the rule is you have to identify yourself, then you don't get to speak. That's over. But you shouldn't take away that mode of communication with the board.
I have a question. I just want a point of clarity here. Is this about not streaming the meetings or about not asking questions from the home audience?
No, we're streaming them, just having the questions be live questions, and then anybody who's on stream to email the questions ahead of time. So this way we have the answers for them during our meeting.
Well, I will just say this. I'm never reading somebody else's question from the table. That's not gonna happen. If somebody has a question that they want to ask, I'm speaking for myself. It's not appropriate for me to be saying other people's words out loud, especially if they're demeaning the board or, questioning our politics or what we do. So I definitely don't think that it's wise for us to be doing that. I will say, I've been doing this for a long time now, and the last 4 years of these virtual meetings are horrendous for me. They truly are. And for those of you that don't have to sit on this end of the table to deal with, I see it both ways. I don't disagree with what is being spoken down there. However, not having to sit in this seat and try to control somebody that is not in front of me where I can say you have to stop speaking at this time, you've reached your limit or whatever. And then myself having to be the person who raises their voice and look like I'm trying to stop somebody or do something else is not appropriate. So for myself, I don't disagree with, I understand what you're saying about participation, but participation has to be, 3/4 of the world doesn't put their camera on. They're signed in as, Jay guest. You don't know who they are. How do I know that it's not, and you're here, so obviously I know it's not you, but I'm going to use you. How do I know it's not David signed on as 4 different people, asking 4 different questions the same way? It's very difficult. And I have had many people who have refused to identify themselves and or a barrage of question or speaking, you know, we can't have a dissertation coming from the other side because people don't stop talking. It's hard for me to control the room from the other side of a computer. So I'm only speaking for myself in that regard. What I will tell you is many of our school districts do stream their meetings and they do not allow questions from the audience via the computer. It becomes very difficult. I did speak to quite a few people in my Nassau Suffolk meeting who do the same thing. They stream their meetings, but they do not allow questions from the audience. We're always willing to answer questions via email. We never have an issue with that. I got a phone call Sunday morning at my home. It might have been Saturday morning. I'm always willing to speak to somebody on the phone. I'm always willing to meet with people in person. You guys know I've met with you before. You guys were even board members. So the fact that it does in fact take away from allowing even just people in the audience, if there's a large group of people here, if it's a controversial meeting or something like that, it does take away from the people who took the time out to come here to be able to have questions answered, because I'm kind of going back and forth. So it's a little bit of my 2 cents. The other question that I have, I'm actually going to ask of the attorney is, if, just say for argument's sake, we determine that we're going to stream our meetings and we're not going to take questions from the audience, but say we were talking about restructuring again. We were having a forum, we knew everybody couldn't come. Would we be able to, if we decide now we're not going to generally take questions, but that particular meeting we wanted to take questions from the audience, are we allowed to do that? Because it's not really a policy change.
You have a lot of discretion. I mean, the first, starting point is that you're not obligated to have public participation at your meetings. Not to suggest you should not do that. That's really a board decision as to what you do. But with that being the far end of this, you have the ability to take whatever measures that you want on this topic. So you can set your policy. It seemed like during COVID, you did this as a directive to administration. You didn't do it as a specific policy. So you could either amend your policy in general, or you could give direction to administration as to how you want it to happen. And then just like that, on individual basis, if you wanted to alter that direction to administration, you'd be able to.
So for like a budget meeting or a restructuring meeting or something like that.
You can do that on an individual basis if you want to, yes.
And here's the question. Today is a February meeting and we have a budget meeting 2 weeks from now, or 3 weeks from now. We finish our meeting, we go home, we realize that we now have a budget meeting 3 weeks from now. How do we, if we don't have a meeting in between, are we able to direct administration to allow public comment, or do we have to meet in order to do that?
You'd have to meet to do that unless you wanted, as a board, to say you're directing administration to do this, and the board president would have discretion to call for the meetings. You could call for meetings to be with public participation, and certainly you can give that authority to the board president if you wanted to do that. So if you didn't want to have to meet for a meeting, you can give the board president that discretion.
I'm sorry, yeah, I had a couple of comments here. And, look, I work in a digital world. 90% of my day is spent in a digital. People on a screen, and this is how my company operates. It's a global experience, and it's something I'm very comfortable with. I think that anything that encourages participation and engagement from our community is something that is helpful. I will say that, over the time that we've been streaming these meetings since I've been back on the board, there have been a handful of times where things seem to get a little funky. But for the most part, the decorum in our meetings and within our community, relative to what we hear about what goes on around in other parts of the country and other communities, has been pretty good. I understand, Mrs. Brown, your situation, and look, the work you put forth and you managing this and mediating these meetings is a lot of hard work, and I commend you and I tip my hat to you for doing that. That being said, I do think that, anything that encourages participation is good. But I think if we have to moderate how we mediate these things. So in other words, if we have to be much more strict in terms of the timing with people, and if they're going on and they're just rambling and not asking a question when their 2 minutes is up, we can mute them. And we move on to the next person and take that away from you and having, Mrs. Brown, from having to try and, herd the cats. But people have to maintain a certain decorum in order to be heard. So, that's just, my comfort level. I think that when we went through the last budget meeting and we had people in the auditorium and we had people online, as clumsy and as that may seem at times, for lack of a better word, that's what democracy looks like sometimes, folks. It's a little messy. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic about it. I'm just saying, look, it's sometimes messy. But I do think that we live in a digital age. And if we can manage this, if it becomes unmanageable, and I think what Joe and Mr. Magarachi is saying that, and other folks here, if you think it's unmanageable, that's not my impression. It has not been unmanageable. It's been manageable. There have been a couple of times when it hasn't been as smooth as we might like it to be, but it has encouraged people to participate. So in that regard, that's my, you spoke as your personal opinion. I'm just giving you my personal opinion in terms of how this works. If I was at home, in my office, watching this meeting digitally, I would be perfectly at ease with that. And by the way, it's not Zoom, it's Microsoft Teams. So let's just go on record. That's my opinion. So,
My 2 points is I for the most part, municipalities, town of Oyster Bay, town of North Hempstead, town of Hempstead, they just have virtual meetings with no public comment virtually. So
I can see that. You've got to interrupt you.
Nassau County Legislature does the same thing. So for the most part, most of the municipalities in Nassau County have virtual meetings, but no public comment from the virtual audience. And I agree with Joe and Andrea that if you want to come and ask your questions to the board in person, that you have the opportunity to. If you don't want to come to the board, and as David said, you don't have the opportunity to, for whatever reason, multiple jobs, family matters, you have the opportunity to then email the board. And I'm sure eventually you will get a response from the board or the administration. So I think it's just in line with the rest of Nassau County, and I'm sure most of the school districts in Nassau
You got one more point, Dave?
But one more point.
What? Steve, go ahead.
There's some,
Go ahead.
oh,
All right.
well,
Somebody go.
there's some communication advantage to having everyone hear the question openly, as opposed to writing directly to Mr. Raymond or to Karen. And by the way, I'll say publicly, they've had long conversations with me over the last couple of weeks, educating me on UPK, and I give them a lot of credit for doing that. But I think in general, it's good to hear questions, hear the answers. They may not have thought of the questions, and now it's something that that they now know more about because they had the opportunity to hear publicly.
So the other thing that we have to realize is people do want to speak publicly. They're going to either do it at the board meeting, and if they're remote, they can do it remote, or they're going to do it on Facebook or all kinds of other places. Then they're going to want to have public conversation. So we either give them the opportunity to have it here when there's answers, this conversation able to happen, or we're going to see it much more happening without that. And people will put out their comments and wait for a public response to come out or not, and just put out their comments like that also. So we have to understand that we're not solving a problem by not having a problem at all. The problem just moving around. The question is, can we control it better in one direction or the other direction?
While I don't disagree with the Facebook issue, I don't think we're stopping that Facebook issue. We've seen that over the last couple of years. It's not going to end, nor is it going to get worse just because we stop or don't stop communication.
Nor is it going
So
to get accurate.
at this point, this is what I'm going to say. I'm just going to call for a motion. We'll see where this goes, to direct administration to continue to stream meetings while not taking public comments. However, allowing for me, allowing for the board president, and allowing for the board president to, without a meeting, upon discussion of all of us, to call for a specific meeting to be able to take public comments. So I need a motion to move that. And then we'll discuss it and vote on it.
So check.
I have no idea what I said, so I hope you wrote it down. Just saying. Okay, so we've had discussion, so there's really no question. All in favor? Oh, yes.
I know, and I understand we have lots of policies, and, so if we're making a motion here, does that stand indefinitely? Does it require eventually a policy to be created for it? Is it just for this year? How does it
Correct.
work?
So we can change it back. We can have discussion at the table and change it back at any time, correct?
I would say if you want to have this be codified forever moving forward, then you should do it through a policy meeting. But for the time being, if you want directives to be given to your administration, you can do that. And that's what the vote is today. So
That will last throughout the school year, but then next year it has to be done again, or it's indefinite?
it's indefinite until there's a directive.
Same as how we just did it here. We could and or could not change it in any direction. What did I have to? So no questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Our next board privilege of the floor item, was a discussion regarding pre-K, which essentially was initially brought up by Mr. Lazar. So you want to?
So I have a bunch of questions.
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to not listen to you, but I do. Hurdle. Be in charge. It's like that.
So about the pre-K program, I have a bunch of questions outstanding. One was in the August meeting, I was under the impression that that we had an additional grant that we didn't have to worry about issues with how many children or how many students and how much big bill for us to get reimbursed. But when I started looking through, and I understand that the district did not have this information, but it is on the website from the New York State, which showed that not only this year do we have 130 seats, last year we had 97 seats. The information was published, it has a date of April for 2022's information with 97 seats. It also in that information says that we get reimbursed $5,400 per seat. So unless those things have changed when we finally do get reimbursed, it sounds like for last year, we probably took a loss and wasted money of about $60,000 by not understanding how this grant program is working. And this year, potentially close to $100,000 of this grant money. And also not understanding this information led us to not at an earlier time put out an RFP. Although my question is, since Mr. Riemann, you said that we put out an RFP about this and only one school responded. I was wondering when that RFP was put out, because I remember at the last board meeting, there was at least 2 schools that were here that were curious about the pre-K program. So do you have information on that?
Without the RFP, when we originally started. Scope was the one responding. They're the one running.
For the program, but that program was just a school. Not to have the seats in their own schools, right? Is that correct?
One RFP put out. Anyone could have put in. And people went for it.
But that RFP was to do it in our building.
Right.
Not
That may be the only reason why only one responded. Yeah.
Again, I'm not gonna get into conjecture.
Well,
and I'm
well,
being- and I'm being
just in
lectured.
our building, I think, was that one of the criteria?
I don't have the RFP in front of me. I can get it tomorrow.
So do we have, so from understanding that at this point in time, what is the process to allow other pre-Ks in the community to utilize those seats? Because I know that there is an interest by both some parents and both some schools. What would be that process so we could minimize the loss of the grant funding from the state, which is probably about another $200,000 or so?
I don't know whether you're just making up numbers. You went from 50 to 100 to 200. So I'm not really sure.
To answer your question.
I didn't ask a question.
Okay, so
To my comment.
So to make a comment back on your comment, the additional seats that we are getting this year
We didn't lose that money though. If we didn't use it, it just sits there.
We're wasting it. We don't get
That's your impression.
Without bringing it to the community.
Okay. But those 33 seats were $237,000 of grant money to the community.
Again, I disagree with your statement, but I understand what you're saying in theory, so we could just move on. So what you're really at, is your question asking, what can we do with this 40 seat?
What
I would have to say we can investigate the possibility of putting out another RFP
and
for those 40 seats.
and how quickly can we do this?
I can't give an honest answer.
Do you need our authorization to put out the RFP, or you can just do that? Pending whether we're allowed to do it or not.
I don't think there's any rule regulation from the state that say I have to get authority from you. If you all said yes or you all said no, I think that would,
And maybe it's more than 40, because the difference between where we are now, the 77 and the 90, probably could be added to that 40 number as well.
Again, and I appreciate what you guys are saying, but we have a contract with an outside provider that talks about clashes. So I appreciate what you're saying about the seats, but we have to get past that for now. So like, and what you're saying, and I can look into that whole idea. That's what you're asking to do.
Right. I'm looking into the feasibility of bringing it to the rest of the community. If we can't use the seats that have been allocated to us at the district.
I have no problem with the 40, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's,
right.
Trustee Lazar is saying I should have known about it. I don't know how I'm supposed to know about something that is not ever communicated to me. You went hunting for it. It's not my job to hunt for things. I got to be honest with you. Whenever state aid comes out, we are informed, and trust me, the site crashes because everybody wants to try to get to it. So respectfully, I don't really understand why you would say that to me, but that's fair, I guess. Thoughts? But as far as the 40 seats, yeah, I said it earlier tonight. I have no philosophical issue with helping any number of 4-year-olds in our community. That goes back to what we said before. You obviously don't know who I am, what I believe, and what I stand for. And to continue to say we're wasting and losing, you don't understand how pre-K works from the academic perspective. I get your financial piece of it if it ends up being true, and I'm going to agree with you for right now. So, yep, 5,400, do the math, $54,000, whatever the number is, fine. But when kids come to school and enter kindergarten the next year, and they are already reading in October, we now are going to save money because we're not going to be putting kids to special ed. We're not going to be referring kids for services. So those things no longer cost money. So we can have that, and that's a larger discussion, and I am not going to put a number on that, so please don't ask me to, because that would just be making up a story, and I'm not going to do that because I wouldn't know that. But I do know pre-K works. I do know pre-K is good for all kids. And if I had enough money for every 4-year-old in our community to do it, I'd figure out a way to do it. But you know what else? Just so you're aware, and I'm not complaining, I'm just stating facts. All of this is going to fall on 2 people. Just rallying myself. Philip's going to have to write the RFP, and Mark will do all that financial stuff and the back end stuff. But if, let's say we go out in 40 seats, let's just do bad math, 4 CBOs. So 10 each, they take 10 seats each. I am now responsible, Mr. Harris is now responsible to go and monitor these on a regular basis. They have to maintain the same quality that the current provider is doing, because we make sure. We're tracking data, and we're doing longitudinally. We want to do it longitudinally for a lot of reasons. Make sure we're making progress. Kids are really seeing the benefits of it, and so that's fine, and we'll do that work. Just understand that there's a lot of there's requirements that come along with it. You know, people keep saying, "Well, just give it to the daycare." You can't just give it to a daycare. Daycare has to be certified, right? Number one. Number two, the teacher teaching the class has to be a certified teacher. If the teacher's not a certified teacher, the person running the daycare would have to be certified. If they're not certified, there's like all these, you know what I'm saying. I'm not going to belabor the point. But that's fine, and they would have to meet those criteria in the RFP, which would all have to be spelled out. So Again, I'm not opposed to the philosophical discussion of the 40, that, you could just say it's a given. Everyone's fine with that, we'll start to explore. I mean, it's October, right? You know, the sooner the better, obviously. You know, let's say, worst case scenario, we'll do what we did the first year here, second semester. Still a half a year. Pre-K, right? That's still, it's a pretty good chunk of time.
And that's if someone responds.
Of course, if no one responds, then the money just sits there. Malvern, millions of dollars is sitting. They don't have to stay.
So there are really two issues on the UPK. There's the issue of these available seats. And there's also the issue of the imbalance between what we are spending to service these children versus what we're collecting. And what do I mean by that? Our contract with Scope calls for these 5 sections of up to 90 students. It's a sort of a fixed cost to cover 90 students. And then when you compare that to the revenue, and again, you're maintaining your position that maybe the state will actually pay us for the empty seats. So sure.
No, I'm not maintaining that position at all. What I'm stating is I'm not going to make a statement about something I don't know to be true.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So right now we're faced with the fact that we have an imbalance of 15 seats at about $5,500 a seat, 5,400 of funding from the state.
We all agree. We all agree to that. Yes, sir. We all agree.
So that's right. So the question is, and that's where we're talking about the potential for up to $100,000. And I'll call it a loss because it's the difference between your revenue and your cost of a loss, notwithstanding the benefits of the children. And I don't think anybody here is suggesting we discontinue UPK. It's a wonderful program. We're just trying to make it work financially. So one of the things that we were talking about, and you and I had discussed this, Mr. Raymond, was the possibility of calling in Scope as one of our preferred providers and seeing if we could work something out with the existing contracts and somehow have them work with us to somehow manage this loss, notwithstanding the fact that we've already jumped the gun, so to speak, by committing to the 90 seats.
We didn't jump the gun. That was our full intent. I mean, we had
Our
5.
intent was to fill 90 seats.
All right.
Yeah. So
I don't disagree with you.
before we knew what the outcome was going to be. So now here we are. So is it? I mean, we sort of have a weak standing because it's a firm contract. But I mean, if maybe they might work with us and help us bridge this gap.
Yeah, I mean we had a discussion. We had a discussion here about 5 minutes ago too. I didn't disagree with you. So.
Oh, I didn't hear we were going to do anything about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I missed the beginning of this conversation, but I just want to reiterate, well, maybe I just want to cut this off at the chase for a second and just say, is there anybody sitting of the 7 of us that has an issue with putting out the RFP for the 40 seats that we were unaware of to begin with?
No.
Is anybody at this table? Okay, so that's number 1. So
The only question I had was whether you could make it 40 plus 14.
I was
Yeah.
going there.
Yeah,
She has
okay.
the floor now.
Go ahead.
So that's number 1. We're going to talk about the 40 because a question that I posed was 90 seats are already committed to a CBO. So I don't know that we can give those away. We have committed them to a CBO. On top of which, our district holds room for those 90 seats. If 4 people come in tomorrow and want to apply for those seats, I believe, and I don't know if I'm accurate, but I believe that we have to be able to provide them. Up to 90 seats we were provided in district. So I don't know that those seats are able to be given away. Again, something I did ask Mr. Phillips to check into. Because we are liable to provide those seats first. That being said, again, there are major regulations for any of these other agencies to be qualified. The state has strict regulations for them to be qualified for these seats. That's number 2. Not only do they have to be qualified for the seats, but we have to remember that they can't take, say, whatever program he was talking about gets 10 seats. They cannot take the $5,400 and split it to allow for tuition to be less costly for everybody else. It has to be for a free child in that seat. So it's for the butt in the seat. It's not for them to take the top off of something else. That, in addition, those children it's universal pre-K. That means that they can't turn children away. If they want to be a part of that lottery, if they have 20 people that want those free seats, they have to do a lottery program just like we do. And I think actually we might have to be the ones that monitor that lottery. Our lottery. We would be the ones that say who gets those seats. Moving even further into that, if I understand it correctly, also, they cannot be out of district children. They have to be children that live within the West Hempstead School District, not within West Hempstead, but within the West Hempstead School District. So those are all things that have to be monitored via the RFP and via the state and then via our superintendents. So, and right, and the curriculum has to be substantially equivalent. So a lot of so anybody that read the email or saw the comments from the last couple of months, there are a lot of daycares on that list that are in-home daycares. I don't even know if they qualify by state regulation. You know, the list that I looked at, there could be maybe 3 guaranteed that are actual schooling programs. I don't want to say that the in-home ones don't count. I don't know that. I'm not a lawyer and I don't work for state ed. So again, those are all regulations. So at this moment, I would like to make I would like somebody to make a motion to direct administration to work on the RFP for the 40 seats that we know we have the ability to provide to somebody who meets those requirements.
So, second.
Okay, so we got 4 moves here and Byers seconded it.
Move
Okay,
and
pick
second.
somebody.
Okay, Brian Lindbergh.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. No, I have. Okay, that being said, one more thing, for under board privilege of the floor, as Veronica, because it's been so long now, I just want to remind everybody, as Veronica stated earlier, the West Hempstead Key Club is actively, in their food drive for Thanksgiving currently. If you're not aware, the West Hempstead Key Club provides food and, Thanksgiving meals for families in need within our district. We tend to provide meals to about 45, 48 families per year. So it is important that we get donations. We really, really would appreciate any kind of non-perishable donations. Stay away from the beans. We get a lot of beans. It's Thanksgiving, powdered mashed potatoes, stuffing, gravy. Try not to do jars, anything plastic. It's much easier for us and the children not to break when they're packing. They can be dropped off at any time to any of the school main offices and or the administration building. If you need me to come pick it up, I will happily come pick it up, or I will send Andrea to do so. If you're willing to donate an entire family's worth, like a basket of food for a family, or if the administrators want to donate a bit, whatever, please just let myself or Ms. Ulaga know so that we can provide that information as well. In the past, we have gotten donations of all the turkeys that we need. I'm not 100% sure that that's going to happen this year. So if anybody gets a free frozen turkey and wants to donate it, please let us know so we don't buy as many as we need if we're going to get a couple free. In addition to that, I have to look at the picture just to get the right information. One more quick thing for the parents and the administrators that have students ages 12 to 17. I was asked to mention West Hempstead Fire Department Junior Firefighting Program is available to all students 12 to 17. They are having open enrollment now. They are doing open house and live demonstrations on November 12th at 10 a.m. and November 15th at 7:30 p.m. at the West Hempstead Fire Department. I do have a flyer and information. I'm going to have PTA and PTSA send it out via email as well. And I will try to get it into the guidance offices and main offices in the schools. I will share it on social media. And if anybody has any questions in regard to that, you can let me know and I will get you in contact with Mr. Perot, who runs that program. That being said, future meeting dates are somewhere on this agenda. And we've now reached a period for district residents and or employees of the district to address the board. This individual will be limited to 3 minutes of non-confidential agenda items with an overall maximum of 20 minutes for this portion of the meeting. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Mrs. Merle.
Emily Merle, district resident. So I want to just revisit the motion that you made
For no public comment, is that no public comment online or no
Online,
public?
from the computer.
Oh.
The meetings will be streamed, but there will be no comment from the streaming. Mrs. Gilby.
All right, so I'm gonna go back to the universal pre-K. It is the first year for our district, and I know many districts have it. First year is a working district. Once people start realizing that we have it, that enrollment will keep going up. My nephew lives in Bay Shore. They've had it for years, but I do know their first year, they had very few kids. So looking at it as a business, as a loss, is not how to look at it. This is an educational system. It's not a business. We're here to educate children. And this is an opportunity for all of those 4-year-olds to finally be able to go to a pre-K that we never had before. So I'm not understanding how you're looking at it as a business loss when it's not a business loss. It's actually an advantage to our community to finally have it. I personally paid for my kids to go to daycare when I was working for years. I mean, this is an opportunity for our community. So you have to look at the positive and not the negative. The positive is, how many kids do we have enrolled already? Right.
70.
Each year it will increase until that lottery system is going to be turning people away. And that's what's happening in districts now that have finally reached their maturity in this program. They are unfortunately having to turn kids away. And if the numbers are now being able to be increased, which I too speak to state ed all the time and didn't even know that, I'm sure they're thrilled that it's going to increase because they have that lottery system. I have a friend whose son was turned away. They moved to a district and he said he wasn't chosen. I said, I know, it's a terrible system, this lottery system, and hopefully state ed will figure it out. They're figuring it out by increasing the numbers. This is what's happening. So look at the positive, not the negative. It's not about money. It's about educating kids.
Well, that's fine, but I'm very much in favor of UPK, so let's make that clear.
Right.
I just think there's ways to do it smart financially, that's all.
Well,
And that's what-
it's the first year.
We're
It's
not
like
gonna
opening a
take-
business.
Hello,
That's the
we're
whole
not
thing.
gonna,
But
we're
I
not
just
going
have
back.
one other question.
But your 3 minutes are up by
Oh.
people. Just hold on one
Right.
second.
We could talk afterwards.
Ms. Crumpton, you wanna unmute yourself if that's you?
Hi, this is Aisha Crumpton. I just wanted to get clarity on what was said about the motion about the online public commenting. It was stated that emails would be sent in and that they would be read at the meetings for questions, and then you said that you would not be reading anyone's questions. So could you just provide clarity on that? Like what would happen
We
for
will
people
not-
who?
If you have a question that you'd like to ask the board, you can email it. We'll email you back the answer.
So the question will not be asked at the meeting. The public will not hear the question. It will just come directly to the person sending the email, correct?
Correct.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I just didn't know if you were done. Mr. Zelig, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you. So on the on September 11th, Aaron Zelig, district resident. On September 12th, we were talking about an update to progress on the BOCE's comprehensive long-range planning study, development and enrollment analysis. And I know you're working on some things to close up the year. Just wanted to see if there was follow-up on where it stands and if you have an update when you think it would be completed.
Don't have an update yet, sir, but we've had some discussions about getting it underway.
Okay, thank you. And then the last thing I just was going to say on UPK, we all want as many kids to be able to participate as possible. So on the 40 spots, it would be great if 40 additional kids can participate. That's what the question is. So we'd like all the kids to participate. So I think, thank you guys. I think it's great that you're looking into that. Have a good night all.
Do we have any other questions? I thought I saw another hand. Stephanie?
Stephanie Tambini, district president. I'm just looking for clarification because you guys were using a lot of acronyms that I might not be familiar with. So there's 90 seats that are available right now, and there's an excess of 40 seats.
No.
Okay, so I just wanna, just for me, I usually watch virtually. I have young children and I brought them to the board meeting. It hasn't been received very well. And so I usually watch virtually for everyone's sanity. And whenever UPK has been brought up, it has always been predecessed with Mr. Riemann talking about we just enrolled 2 new students to UPK. So to me, as a mother and as a PTA board member, I see the importance of having as many seats as possible because there seems to be interest every time you talk about UPK. So would that be taking away 40 seats to the district, or is that, I just want to.
No, so we currently have the ability to house 90 seats. Well, we have a pre-K built for 90. It's not to say that we couldn't use a classroom in Chestnut or something like that. There are, the state or the federal government, however you want to clarify it, up our allotment without informing anybody. I mean, everybody saw it. I mean, everybody saw it. I was on TV with the governor. We were all on TV with the governor. We got 90 seats. And we were told by a senator that we were not getting any more. Like, that was it. This is what we're getting, the end. And now there are more. So the purpose of those 40 seats, which we don't need right now, would be to allow any state regulated programs that reside within West Hempstead School District to also offer a lottery system for free seats. So those children that don't come here, I mean, listen, we just said there's 14 seats currently available in our 90. Anybody can come to that program. If you live in West Hempstead, you can register for that program as long as your child is 4 by December 1st, correct?
Yes.
So those seats are available to students in West Hempstead. They're not being utilized right now, but they are available. However, there are people that choose to send their child for whatever reason to, I'll use Winter Circle as one of them. Maybe because they're there later, maybe because there's an after school program. I don't know what the answer is. You know, if it was free, I'm going wherever it's free. I'm just saying. But people make that choice to send their children somewhere else, maybe because they have a younger child there. And if that program is regulated by the state and it meets the state qualifications and they can take advantage of those extra 10 seats or 12 seats or whatever they might be awarded, I think the entire board agrees that we would like to make sure that those students get the opportunity as well. Yeah. Mrs. Kilty, you had something else you wanted to ask?
But those seats are under the guise of this district.
Yes.
They must follow the state and federal law on universal pre-K.
Correct.
Okay.
And the district mandated.
That was my question. You just answered it because my understanding is that is the law.
Right. And they have to follow.
You file for the grant for it, that it is then under the direction of the public school system, that program, wherever it is run under the guidelines from this district.
Correct. And the district mandate.
And the mandates of licensing and everything else.
Correct. Mrs. Merle.
Would it be possible, Mrs. Merle, district resident, would it be possible to maybe to clear up some of the confusion with UPK is if we find out all the state regulations on what that provider needs to be to get those seats?
It would be in the RFP.
It'll be in the
RFP for them to be able to apply for.
This way they don't fly.
But if we could put it out maybe to the public, then
We
people
are.
would know, because I know that I work in a nursery school and I know that they came to see if we wanted any seats. And we did not fill all those requirements at the time to take those seats. So I think it would help the public understand more if we put out what those regulations are, because you may think, well, this is a daycare, they should be able to get the seats, whereas they don't, the state has very strict regulations about what it needs to be. And so while the RFP would reply to that, then the public may stop asking so many questions. Why aren't you giving this money to these people?
Right.
Because you could say they don't fit these specific requirements.
There's a difference between a daycare and universal pre-K.
No.
The daycare is not a universal pre-K.
Right. And I think that's where
That's
where some confusion is, because
Yes.
a lot of the information that was put out had 12 or 13 names on it, where if you look them up, they're in-home daycares that may not meet those qualifications. Again, I think the point is to get it to the people that do meet the qualifications. So the students that can take it, guys, So the students that can take advantage of the seats do take advantage of the seats.
I mean, we did have one inquiry, right, way back in the beginning.
Right, yeah.
2.5 years ago, what the question was, well, I want to take the money and split it up. Fortunately, you can't do it, but this is what I want to do.
Right.
Yeah. It's a very good point you make, that, and we'll spread it.
Are there any other questions in the audience at this time? All right, so that being said, I need to move, no. I need to legislation. I need
Oh, we have it.
a motion to move into executive session for advice and counsel and to discuss personnel and to interview the 4 people that have been sitting here a long time waiting for us. I need, wait, guys, I need a motion and a vote first. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you guys so much for enjoying our evening with us.
Finally going.
Okay, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Next meeting also.
It's